Welcome back to my channel. This is the second part of the Taekook fanfiction story, where the powerful alpha found out about his secret. It is a pure imaginations of mine. Don't take it very seriously. Are you ready? Let's start. By the third day, Taehyung was exhausted. Not from the coursework. He excelled in lectures, his sharp mind easily absorbing the material. Not even from the constant waves of alpha pheromones rolling through the halls. No, it was Jungkook who drained him. Since the spar, the alpha had been everywhere. Watching. Following. Not in an obvious, stalkerish way, but with the precision of a predator circling prey. Jungkook never announced his intentions. He simply appeared, in the library in the cafeteria line, leaning against the wall outside their lecture hall. Always silent, always watching with those sharp, dark eyes. And every time Taehyung felt his mask strain. On the fourth day, Taehyung entered the cafeteria with his tray, searching for an empty table. But as usual, the air was thick with alphas. Packs clustered together, laughing too loudly, their scents overlapping in a storm. He spotted a quiet corner. Relief flooded him. But before he could reach it, "Here." The word was spoken firmly from a table near the center. Taehyung froze. Jungkook sat there, one arm draped casually across the back of his chair. Eyes fixed on him. "I said sit here." Murmurs rippled through the room. The strongest alpha in the academy inviting the new student? It was unheard of. Taehyung hesitated, heart racing. Refusing would draw suspicion. Accepting would be worse. He forced a smile and slid into the seat across from Jungkook. For several minutes, Jungkook said nothing, just watched Taehyung eat with unnerving calm. Then, slowly he leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Your hands don't shake." Taehyung blinked. "Excuse me?" When alphas get challenged, they get aggressive. Or defensive. Their adrenaline spikes. Their hands shake. "But you?" Jungkook's eyes flicked to Taehyung's steady grip on his chopsticks. "Nothing." Calm as stone. Taehyung swallowed, forcing a light laugh. "Maybe I just don't care about silly games." Jungkook tilted his head, his stare like a blade. "Or maybe you're trying too hard to look calm." The words sank into him like ice water. Taehyung lowered his gaze, pretending to focus on his tray, even as his pulse thundered. That evening, Taehyung retreated to the library, hoping for peace. The tall shelves and quiet atmosphere gave him room to breathe. He found a secluded corner, surrounded by old texts, and let himself relax for the first time all day. His scarf slipped slightly as he leaned forward, exposing the faint edge of the inhibitor patch on his neck. Interesting choice of books. The voice was soft but close, too close. Taehyung flinched. Jungkook stood beside him, eyes scanning the titles with casual interest, though his attention was anything but casual. Literature on alpha psychology? Jungkook's lips curved faintly. Researching your competition? Taehyung straightened quickly, tugging his scarf higher. It's for class. Jungkook hummed, circling the table slowly before lowering himself into the chair opposite. I've been watching you. Taehyung's fingers tightened around the book cover. That's flattering. Not flattering, Jungkook corrected. His eyes locked on Taehyung's. Suspicious. The silence stretched, heavy with unspoken tension. Jungkook leaned forward, elbows on the table, until Taehyung could feel the heat of his gaze burning into him. Something about you doesn't add up, Kim Taehyung. You hide your scent. You dodge instead of fighting. You don't act like an alpha, but you don't act like an omega either. Taehyung forced his breathing to stay even. Maybe I'm just not what you expect. Jungkook's smirk returned, slow and sharp. Exactly. And I don't like not knowing. When Taehyung finally gathered his books and stood, Jungkook rose too. They walked down the narrow aisle together. Jungkook deliberately brushing close enough that Taehyung could feel the heat of his body and smell the faintest trace of his scent. The proximity made his omega instincts flare, a ripple of warmth in his chest he fought desperately to suppress. Jungkook's head tilted, his nose twitching slightly, as though he sensed something beneath the artificial alpha mask. His eyes darkened. Taehyung's heart nearly stopped. He tugged his scarf higher, forcing himself to step faster toward the exit. Jungkook let him go, but his gaze followed, sharp and unyielding. That night, lying awake in his dorm, Taehyung replayed the day's moments over and over. Jungkook's eyes, his words, his closeness. The most powerful alpha in the academy wasn't just curious anymore. He was hunting. And if Taehyung slipped even once, Jungkook would be the one to uncover everything. The training hall echoed with the sound of fists slamming into mats, bodies colliding, and instructors barking orders. Today wasn't sparring, it was endurance. Hours of drills designed to break even the toughest alphas and force their instincts to rise. For Taehyung it was a nightmare. Sweat clung to his neck, sliding beneath the scarf where the inhibitor patch lay hidden. The relentless movements, the constant pressure of alpha pheromones around him, it was too much. His body ached, his lungs burned. And deep inside, the omega instincts he had fought to bury clawed against their chains. Stay calm. Don't slip. Don't let them smell you. Pair up, the instructor barked. Dominance drills. Push until one submits. Taehyung froze. Submission? That word alone made his pulse race. Omegas submitted, alphas didn't. He reacted wrong. Taehyung. That voice again. Low, commanding, impossible to ignore. He turned. Jungkook stood a few feet away. Already rolling up his sleeves, dark eyes locked on him with unsettling intensity. Partner with me. They faced each other in the center of the mat. The other alphas watched with eager curiosity. Everyone wanted to see if the newcomer could withstand Jungkook again. The instructor gave a sharp nod. Begin. Jungkook stepped forward, slow, deliberate, his movements radiating dominance. He didn't attack right away. Instead, he let his pheromones bleed into the air, thick, rich, undeniably alpha. The effect was immediate. Several nearby students shifted uncomfortably, averting their eyes. Even other alphas felt the weight of Jungkook's presence. For Taehyung it was suffocating. His omega instincts screamed to kneel, to bare his throat, to submit. He clenched his fists, forcing his body to stay upright, his jaw tight. Fight back, Jungkook murmured, circling him like a predator. Taehyung dodged his first strike, then his second, just as he had in their earlier spar. But this time Jungkook wasn't aiming to win. He was testing, probing, watching how Taehyung moved, how he reacted, how his mask trembled under pressure. Still so slippery, Jungkook said softly, almost to himself. You never push. You only avoid. Why is that, Taehyung? Taehyung's chest heaved. Not everyone solves things with brute force. Jungkook smirked. Maybe. Or maybe you can't. The drill intensified. Jungkook pressed harder, his strikes faster, closer, his presence overwhelming. Taehyung dodged desperately, muscles screaming with effort. His inhibitor patch burned hot under his sweat, slipping slightly against his damp skin. Then, Jungkook pinned him. In one swift motion, Taehyung was flat against the mat, Jungkook's body hovering above, strong hands gripping his wrists. Their faces were inches apart, Jungkook's breath warm against his cheek. And in that moment, the mask cracked. A faint, sweet scent slipped free. Subtle but unmistakable. The scent of Omega. Jungkook's eyes widened ever so slightly. His grip tightened. His pupils dilated. Taehyung's blood ran cold. He shoved weakly against Jungkook's hold, panic flooding him. "Get off." But Jungkook didn't move. His nose twitched, his chest expanding with a slow inhale. His dark gaze locked on Taehyung's, sharp and burning with something dangerous. "So that's it." His voice was low, almost a growl. "You're not an alpha at all." Before Jungkook could say more, the instructor barked, "Enough!" The hold broke. Jungkook pushed off him, rising smoothly to his feet. Taehyung scrambled up, tugging his scarf higher, praying desperately that no one else had noticed the slip. The other students muttered, assuming Jungkook had simply overpowered him as usual. No one seemed to question further. But Jungkook's eyes never left him. Dark. Knowing. When training ended, Taehyung tried to escape quickly, heart hammering. But Jungkook caught him just outside the hall, one strong hand closing around his wrist. They stood in the shadow of the building, away from the others. Jungkook leaned close. His voice low, dangerous but steady. "I was right. You're hiding something." His gaze burned into Taehyung's. "You're an Omega." Taehyung's breath caught. His body stiffened. "You should be terrified right now," Jungkook continued, his tone sharper. "If I expose you, you're finished. This academy will tear you apart." Taehyung forced himself to lift his chin, though his pulse thundered in his ears. "Then why don't you?" For a moment, silence stretched between them. Jungkook studied him, expression unreadable, as though weighing a decision only he could make. Finally his lips curved, slow, dangerous. "Because I'm not done with you yet." And with that, he let go of Taehyung's wrist, walking away without another word, leaving the Omega trembling in the shadows. The second week at the prestigious Alpha University was nothing short of suffocating. For Taehyung, every day felt like walking on a thin, brittle line. One wrong move and everything he had worked for would shatter. His blockers were still working. But the constant presence of dominant pheromones made his head ache and his chest tighten. Alphas clashed daily, even over the smallest things. Who got to sit near the window, who spoke louder in debates, who earned the professor's rare nods of approval. Taehyung forced himself to blend in, to mimic their prideful postures, their sharp glares, their easy arrogance. But he was always too careful, too restrained, and Jungkook noticed. Jungkook had made it a point to sit near Taehyung in nearly every class. The other alphas either avoided him out of respect or envied him in silence. Jungkook's presence was overwhelming. He was an alpha among alphas, untouchable, magnetic, and impossible to ignore. Taehyung pretended not to care. He kept his notes neat, his answers precise, his voice calm. But Jungkook kept watching him, his sharp eyes narrowing at every subtle slip. During combat training it became worse. The instructor paired Taehyung with a tall, fiery alpha named Minhyuk. The spar started simple, but Minhyuk's aggression rose quickly, testing Taehyung's composure. Taehyung parried, dodged, kept his stance steady. He couldn't afford to show weakness. But Minhyuk's growl carried pheromones, raw, unrestrained alpha dominance, that pressed against Taehyung's walls of suppression. His body flinched instinctively, too sharp, too real. Jungkook noticed. When Minhyuk lunged again, Jungkook stepped in without permission. His hand clamped around Minhyuk's wrist, stopping the attack in its tracks. "That's enough," Jungkook said, voice low but commanding. His eyes, however, flicked to Taehyung. Not in pity but in suspicion. Later that day in strategy class, Jungkook leaned closer than usual. His voice was barely above a whisper. "You're different," he said. Taehyung's pen stilled mid-note. "What are you talking about?" he asked smoothly, feigning ignorance. Jungkook smirked, leaning back in his seat. Alphas don't react like you did today. Not unless. His eyes gleamed with unspoken curiosity. You're hiding something. The word struck Taehyung like a whip. His heart raced, his throat tightened. But he forced himself to meet Jungkook's gaze, cool and unbothered. Or maybe you're just imagining things, Taehyung replied. Jungkook chuckled quietly, not pushing further, for now. But in his eyes was a spark of interest, sharper and hungrier than before. Taehyung felt his walls trembling. He couldn't let them break. Not here. Not yet. The halls of the university were quieter than usual. Most students had already left, their laughter and chatter fading into the evening air. Taehyung clutched his books close to his chest as he stepped outside, his heart beating a little too quickly. He had been extra careful that day. The patch on his neck was firmly pressed against his skin, releasing the synthetic alpha-like masking scent. No one had questioned him directly, but Taehyung could feel it, the way some of the stronger alphas looked at him. Brows furrowed as if catching a trace of something sweet underneath the artificial chemical layers. Among them was Choi Sang-hoon, a third-year alpha notorious for his cruelty. He had been watching Taehyung all week with a sharp, predatory interest. Unlike others, Sang-hoon didn't laugh off his suspicions. Instead, he followed Taehyung. "Hey, new guy." The voice came from behind him, low and commanding. Taehyung froze for a second, then forced himself to turn slowly, expression calm. "What do you want?" Sang-hoon smirked, stepping closer. "Funny thing, every alpha in this place reeks of arrogance, testosterone, and steel. But you," his gaze flicked to Taehyung's throat. "You smell off. Sweet. Like honey wrapped in something fake." Taehyung's pulse spiked. His fingers gripped his books tighter. "You're imagining things." Sang-hoon laughed, dark and low. "Am I?" Before Taehyung could move, Sang-hoon grabbed his wrist, yanking him back against the wall. His other hand shot to Taehyung's neck, nails scraping near the edge of the patch. "Let's test that theory." Panic exploded inside Taehyung. His body trembled as he tried to push Sang-hoon away, but the alpha's strength was overwhelming. The patch shifted slightly, and a faint thread of his true scent, delicate, intoxicating omega sweetness, escaped into the air. That was the exact moment Jungkook, who had been crossing the courtyard, stopped dead in his tracks. His senses sharpened instantly. The scent hit him like lightning. Omega. Pure, untainted, hidden beneath chemical lies. His chest tightened, his instincts roaring to claim, to protect, to dominate. He didn't think, he moved. "Get your hands off." Jungkook's voice was a growl, deep and dangerous, as he appeared like a shadow behind Sang-hoon. The senior alpha barely had time to turn before Jungkook's hand was around his collar, yanking him back and slamming him hard against the wall. Sang-hoon coughed, eyes wide. "Jungkook, it's not what?" "Shut up." Jungkook's glare could kill. His dominance poured out, suffocating, forcing Sang-hoon to submit instinctively. "If I ever see you near him again, you won't be walking away." He didn't need to say more. Sang-hoon stumbled away, sweating, too shaken to fight back. The courtyard went silent. Taehyung's breathing was shallow, his wide doe eyes locked on Jungkook. His patch was half peeled, his omega scent spilling freely now, wrapping around Jungkook's senses like a drug. Jungkook clenched his fists. Every nerve in his body screamed to pin Taehyung down, to mark him, to claim what was his. But Jungkook was not a beast. He swallowed hard, forcing his instincts down, and instead bent to lift Taehyung into his arms, bridal style. Taehyung gasped softly, clutching Jungkook's shirt. "What are you doing?" "Getting you out of here." His voice was firm, controlled, though his jaw was tight. He could smell how fragile Taehyung was beneath the mask, the sweetness pouring out of him like a forbidden secret. Jungkook carried him swiftly through the campus, ignoring the stares of a few passing students. His apartment wasn't far, and he didn't trust Taehyung to walk on his own. When they arrived, Jungkook set him down gently on the couch, turning away instantly to keep distance. His hands trembled slightly at his sides, nails digging into his palms. "Your patch." Jungkook's voice was husky, fighting restraint. "It's slipping." Taehyung touched his neck, panicked. He could see the raw hunger in Jungkook's eyes, but also the iron wall of restraint holding him back. "Why are you helping me?" Taehyung whispered. Jungkook's gaze softened just a fraction. "Because you're not safe here. Not with them." And his chest rose and fell. "Because you don't deserve to be treated like prey." The room filled with silence, heavy and charged. Taehyung's heart pounded. For the first time he realized, this alpha was different. He was dangerous, yes, but the danger wasn't aimed at him. It was aimed at anyone who dared to harm him. And that terrified Taehyung even more. To be continued. Thanks for watching. Part 3 will be coming soon. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned.